glad to be here this evening with everybody, and I'm glad that there's so many people checking in on this event. It's our first one that we've tried since COVID came about, and it seems like a good way to do things. You know, we've come a long way, and we've gotten a lot of folks to wake up still, and we're on this prayer journey. And it's about the salmon, it's about the Chinook, it's about the water. And while fish need water, I think people don't realize that water needs those fish. Water needs those Chinook. Because the Chinook, when they come in to spawn, they move all those rocks around, and all the sediments go down, and they go down to the ocean. And when they move those rocks around, the river breathes better. And the underground aquifers all along the river start flowing a little bit better. And there's more water that seems like it is cleaner and clearer. This is what the salmon bring. They also bring food to all of the trees and plants and everything along the river. Everywhere they go, they feed everything that they run into. From the ocean, they feed the orcas, the whales, the seals, you name it, they're feeding. Even the little crabs that are on the bottom of the ocean, they are enjoying that salmon the way that we do, you know, the way that we are. And it's more than just a commodity. It's a way of life. You know, the native people are put on this land to work with the salmon, because if we didn't do our part, there would be too many carcasses of salmon on the river, and too much of anything is not good. But now we don't have that issue anymore, because we have so many people who are diverting the water, who are using the water, who are damming up the water, who are canaling the water. And when that happens, water loses faith in us, and water starts doing what it's going to do, separate from, you know, how we might feel about it. Because the Winnemem and many other tribal people believe that water is one of the most sacred spirits ever, along with fire. Fire and water are the two that really must be in balance. They have to be in balance, otherwise we have drought, and we have wildfires, and we have loss. And right now, that's kind of what's happening that we believe. And so we've traveled different places, you know, that to try to figure out, you know, what can we do, the little people? We're not really that powerful, you know. We have to depend on everything else to live. But we went and prayed about it, because the spring on Mount Shasta, one of the oldest mountains in the world, the sacred mountain in the world, the spring went dry. And even though it seems like nobody else cared about that or noticed or was upset about it, the Winnemem people were. And so we prayed about, what can we do? What can we do about that? And so we journeyed to Hawaii. First time ever that we went to Hawaii, and it was for the purpose of singing to the whales, because the whales are the ones who dive the deepest. They're the oldest mammals in the sea. And we also wanted to sing to the sea turtles, because the sea turtles know what's going on in the ocean and on the land. They do both things. And then we wanted to pray at the oldest fires. And we went to Hilo, where the lavas flow like an ocean. The lava there comes in waves like the ocean. And so we were able to do that. We were able to go and sing to that fire that's the oldest. And then we also went to the waters on the big mountain, the Mauna Kea, to get that water to bring back for our water, for our mountain, because we know there are sacred mountains in the world that hold Mother Earth together. And these are two of the most sacred that I can think of that holds Mother Earth, because they're volcanoes. And there are other volcanoes around the world. We also went to Uchamek in the Altai for the same reason, because on Altai they have the Lake of Sadness and they have the Lake of Happiness. And we took water from both of those lakes so that we could have that, because that's what balance is. You can only be as happy as you are willing to be sad. And you're only going to be sad for as much as you're going to be happy, that you want to be happy. You can't be otherwise you're just, you're neutral. You have no feelings really, high or low. And that's how I feel like some of the people along these riverways have become. We've gotten away from our dances for the salmon. We've gotten away from our songs for the salmon, or greeting the salmon. We no longer build fires because somebody else owns the river front. But those are things that we used to do, the tribe used to do, to greet the salmon to come in, because we know that the salmon travel by the stars. They travel at night. And we set those fires on the banks that match the star patterns, and they would come up. But we have gotten lost too. We have kind of lost our grip on our traditions as well as our rights to do these things. And I say that because the Winnemem Wintu, we're not a federally recognized tribe, and therefore we have less rights and probably almost no rights to our own traditional ways of practicing our religions and doing our own healing. But the purpose right now is for waking up more people. We have a website and we have a program on Facebook for children, classrooms, and that if you're a teacher or you're a parent who would like to have that program in your classes, in your schools, please come to our website and look at the hard work that our teachers have put together, wonderful programs for different age levels. And if you're a teacher who would like to work on some of those things, we also welcome that, because the more people know about salmon, the better. Salmon are that kind of fish that you can't really keep in a fish tank, because they have to swim out to the ocean and they get really big. They're supposed to get really big. And then once they come back, they die after they spawn. And so it's not like a fish that you can keep and kind of enjoy and study and learn about it as a pet, because salmon was never meant to be a pet. It is one of the sacred beings that the Creator gave to us for direction and help. And now, this year, we have several water issues happening. We have Crystal Geyser on Mount Shasta that has just conceded not to do the water bottling company in Mount Shasta. So Crystal Geyser is out. And I'd like to thank the organization Water, as well as the Winnemem leaders in that, which is our TIPO, Mark Miyoshi and Luisa Navejas. So that is a good win, right? We don't know how long that lasts, right? Because there's always appeals and things. But from my good friend Pua in Hawaii, I send out good blessings to her. She's had a little bit of a health issue just recently, and that's where Palm is right now. And we've sent some medicine over for her, and the good blessings to help her heal up so that she can get back on the road to, bringing these things about. So Crystal Geyser is down, but you know what? I just have to put this out there too. It's like, wouldn't it be great if the state of California, the governor or the Congress, would make it so that there's a subsidy paid to the high mountain cities, towns, that should be the people who preserve our water, because that's the water bank. These mountain ranges are the water bank. Why doesn't our state pay those cities so they're not seeking water bottling companies for jobs, for economy? We should give them subsidies instead of the GMO farmers. So I'm trying to think outside, how do we help do this? That way, we wouldn't have to continue to spend money to fight these humongous companies from taking enormous amounts of water. Nobody even really knows. There's no limit on the water that they can take. There's only a limit on the minimum amount that they are due. And the money that they're giving is not worth that kind of expenditure, because that company would have taken 14,000 gallons or gallons per acre foot, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's how much water would not be flowing into Shasta Lake, down the Sacramento River, to the cities and towns where people need the water. That water would have been bottled and sent out of country, out of state. And that seems wrong when we're in a drought, right? That seems pretty wrong. So anyway, I'd like to just congratulate Water and the groups that have fought against, and that the city of Mount Shasta is still wondering why Crystal Geyser pulled out. But the lawsuit has been lasting for a while, and so we can have a little relief from that lawsuit. But of course, we're gearing up for a lawsuit on the Delta to protect the salmon, to protect the water flows, because right now, the Bureau of Reclamation, if you've noticed, the Sacramento River is running bank to bank right now. That means they're shipping water to the big corporate ag paper water contractors. That's who's getting the water right now, not the fish. Some people think, oh yeah, the fish are getting the water right now because they're shipping it's the wrong time for the fish. The fish will need that water later, and there won't be that water. It'll be warm water that's going to be in Shasta Dam. So that's the thing that I want, people to recognize is like, let's relearn about our fish. Let's learn about when are they spawning and what do they need, because everything they need, we need. Everything that they're doing to the water is good for us. And everything corporate ag is doing to the water is not good for us. We on our journey and Run for Salmon, we come down the river, and we have seen corporate farms and orchards dumping excess water back into the river, and already changing a river that is stressed to receiving more like chocolate-covered water or smelly water. And I think most people don't realize that's already happening to our big river, and that we need more education about these things instead of trusting the water keepers. And I have to give thanks too now to the State Water Board, because they are stepping up. They are starting to take a different position now and not just letting big ag have what they want. But it's difficult because, nobody really has the power. It seems like water rights, it's very complicated. Who has the rights and who has the money to buy these things and to tie it up in courts for a long time. And then also the Hoopa tribe, has stepped up, coming about because of the transfer of the Trinity Center dam water over the mountain and dumping it into Keswick Dam, which is right on the Sacramento River. This year, they have determined that it's going to be the worst year for salmon ever. They're predicting that 90% of the juvenile salmon going out to sea will die because of warm water conditions. The other is that all of the hatcheries, Coleman and Livingston Stones and Nimbus and Nimbus, the other ones, are all planning to truck their salmon, their juveniles, all the way to the ocean and releasing them in the ocean. And while that says, oh yeah, we're going to save the salmon because we're going to, bypass all that warm water and get them to the ocean, that also means that those salmon will not come back. They are not coming back up the river to spawn because they didn't swim out of here. That is for the purpose of commercial fishermen. And it'll be good for the whales and other fish and animals that need the salmon in the ocean. But it is not the way to restore salmon. That doesn't make more salmon. And so the problems continue to exist. And I just have to say this too, is that I think, ever since they've been managing, and it's like the man-age time of salmon, they've been going downhill. The only thing that revives the salmon is when Mother Nature makes a wet year, and the salmon pop back up. And then the man-age starts again, and it goes back downhill. And so the most we can hope for is more wet years. But we're going to man-age them out of existence. And our salmon were sent to New Zealand, in the early 1900s. And they are in the rivers of New Zealand. We're in a contract right now doing DNA sampling of the fish because the U.S. government has a hard time believing that those are still our fish and they're not monsters and they should come back. And so they want to determine whether or not they're winter run salmon or spring run salmon because that's what they're targeting. Like they don't know that the river needs all of the salmon, not just one or the other. It's like you have a chicken that lays eggs in the morning, or you have a chicken that lays eggs in the afternoon. It's like it's the same thing, And right now we are struggling with the fact that there are not enough wild salmon in our rivers right now. We have too many hatchery fish, and the hatchery fish are becoming like farm fish. And we need to turn this around. And so this year, we are going to be doing Run for Salmon in July, starting on the 9th and going through to the 26th. If people are available or could help or could donate for this cause so that we can spread this word a little bit farther and have more understanding at different age groups, because we know that this has to get bigger than the Winnemem-Wintu people. There are not enough of Winnemem-Wintu to change this. We are counting on other people to step up, to do things, to speak up. Whenever you're in their water board meetings, if you're doing contracts, if you're worried about the fish, to mention that we have to change the way that we think. Because you know what? Salmon are becoming extinct. The Delta smelt are almost extinct, which the salmon depend on. And to me, that means the farmers, they're not extinct. They're not even close to becoming extinct. Almond trees are not extinct. So we could bypass some of that production, because in the marketplace, we lose a lot of product to expiration dates that used a lot of water to grow it. Then it's on the market, and then it's just thrown away. Why aren't we regulating that a little bit closer? And why aren't we putting permit and regulations on farms and agriculture to put water back into the river? And then why aren't we, asking our government to save the salmon and become a salmon state like we should have been in the first place? before they shipped the water to the San Joaquin Valley, we were a heavy salmon state. We are one of 5 states in the nation that can do this. We have some of the biggest rivers that had tremendous runs of salmon. And now we are struggling with the same old practice all the time. So if you could plug into the Run for Salmon Facebook page and you can donate, or you have ideas, you know, we like to also ask for teachers and biologists or young students who would like to come and, you know, do something with your doctorate degrees or your master's programs and help us out. So I wanted to ask my sister and my daughter, and who else could I ask? I wanted to end this with a song, and she's not even paying attention to me. Look at her. She's probably sleeping. No. And then anybody else who would like to share the song. Okay. And then I guess we'll turn it back over to Ron right after this.
Where Bader's go?
Huh?
Where Bader's go? Behind you.
Oh.
Where you go?
Years ago. Okay. Is that it? Okay, we're gonna go for it. And this song is in all of us. We have that place of a greater being of teaching us, and this is the one that we follow because the sacred is our teacher. Okay, you ready? Sawa mayomes beles bom, sawa mayomes beles bom, pihat bohe wintunto, why can we legas knees? Sawa mayomes beles bom, sawa mayomes beles bom. Pihat bohe wintun toad, why can we legas knees? Sawa mayomes beles bom, sawa mayomes beles bom. Pihat bohe wintun toad, why can we legas knees? Oh, and Chalabim, when tutin is sing ting. He chalabeskin.